Steve here wants us to talk about the shortage of diesel fuel in Crimea and Russia. But Steve, for the first thing is it's not just diesel fuel. It's all kinds of refined crude oil products. So what's going on, given that Russia is one of the largest producers of crude oil on the planet and refined petroleum products? Russia's having money problems. This war is costing them an estimated $500 million to $1 billion a day to fight this stupid, pointless, barbaric war. That's breaking the old Russian bear bank there. Now, that doesn't even include the days where Russia suffers $1 billion plus of hardware losses, like they did yesterday on the attack at Sevastopol Harbor. Like, not $1 billion, but the attack on the S-400 missile system was close to $500 million alone. And then the attack on the Sikov Air Base that night, that was $1.2 billion day in hardware losses on top of the $500 million to $1 billion a day in regular fixed expenses on this insanity. So because they've got this cash crisis and their major export product is crude oil, what are they doing? They're selling it to the highest bidder. And under sanctions, that bidder is still paying about 30% markdown from the global average. So they're not making the kind of money they should be making, not even close. In some cases, the deals are about break even. The about break-even point for Russia now is $57 a barrel. Anything less than 57, they're not making any money. That's something to consider. If you look at the price of Urals crude, you'll have an idea of just what the margins are these days. So they need the money. They don't get it internally because they produce the oil. Traditionally, oil and gas products inside of Russia have been subsidized by the government. And because of that, they're not selling to themselves. They're selling outside. It's insanity. Now, the situation is exacerbated in Crimea, as Radio Free Europe reported recently and was covered here by Newsweek. Crimea is an exception to what we'll call mainland Russia, right? Because it's a peninsula, it's got limited access, very limited access. And with the Kerch Bridge out, all those truck deliveries can't go. Okay, so the bridge is out. We won't put them on trucks. We'll put them on rail cars. Oops, there goes the rail line on the Kerch Bridge. Can't send them that way anymore. Well, okay, I guess we could send them on trucks. We'll send them on trucks. It's 1,200 kilometers out of the way from Rostov-on-Don down along the Sea of Azov and then over the Arabet Spit. We'll send them that way. Oops, there goes the Arabet Spit Bridge. Now what are we going to do? Well, we can put them on rail cars in Rostov and we'll send them along the coast over the Chonobar Bridge. It's 1,200 miles of rail out of the way, but, what are we going to do? Oops, there goes the Chonobar Bridge. Now what are we going to do? Now we have no choice but to send them on rail to Tokmak, and from Tokmak to send them to the Western Rail line to Kherson, and from Kherson back down to Crimea. It's like 2,400 kilometers out of the way. That's going to affect the price. Boy, is it ever. And Anton here, who works for the Ministry of the Interior of Ukraine, got some video footage of Crimeans bitching about the price of gas and its unavailability. So basically, this woman is saying you can't find it anywhere. And if you do, it's going to cost you 85 rubles a liter. Now, so let's convert that to dollars and gallons for folks. That's about $3.65 a gallon. $3.65 a gallon might sound like a good deal to you as an American. But you don't live in Russia. You're not used to paying $1.60 a gallon, $1.85 a gallon, $2.25 a gallon is high for you because remember, just like we subsidize the price of milk and eggs in the U.S., they subsidize the price of gas in Russia. And so Russians are not used to paying $4 a gallon for gas. Not even close. And though Crimea is probably the most extreme example because it has all its own requirements, it's not an isolated example. This article from Newsweek, I think, is 10 days old. I saw a report last night that 22 oblasts in Russia have no diesel at all. None. From Krasnodar to Kamchatka, they're out of diesel. They're out of the high test premium gasolines. There are lines for gas all across Russia. And it's only going to get worse because the pressure is on Moscow to generate revenue. A report just came out that over 20 federal districts saw their tax revenues in the last quarter cut by 1/3 or more. There's one oblast that's running at a tax where they've spent the entire budget for the year and they don't have any tax revenue coming in to speak of at all. What are they going to do? This war is breaking the bank of the Russian Federation in a way that is going to result in generational poverty inside of Russia. And very likely, it's my opinion, that in the next 36 months, once the Russians are defeated and ejected from Ukraine, in the next 36 months, you're going to see the Russian Federation tear itself apart. And they're going to have nobody to blame but Moscow, and they're going to take their wrath out on Moscow, as well they should. The rest of us don't have to lift a finger. Just sit back, relax, get your popcorn, and get ready to help pick up the pieces in those places that really want sovereignty and democracy for all. Let's be ready to help those people before China swoops in and installs puppet governments in Sakha and Kamchatka and Irkutsk and places like that.